up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, welcome back, Daylight Burners. We're sitting down here on a Sunday evening. If anybody's listening there on the Patreon feed, welcome to you. Benjy Smith out of Utah. What is I guess your address town? You would.
Well, the address town would be Tremonton, but I'm out in a little sublet of that called Thatcher.
Okay, and that's kind of like right in the heart of Mormondom, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Like, because like Salt Lake City, I know is kind of like that's like the public face of Mormondom, but like Provo's like the really, isn't that like really where like the Mormon, like the faithful are there?
Oh yeah, and I actually grew up down in that country.
Okay, are you Mormon?
That's where I was born and raised. Yeah, I'm what you call Jack Mormon.
Okay, so you're
so that means I'm still a member of it, but I've got a couple of vices they don't necessarily agree with. But
okay, well, to each their own. And I don't know. There's I always liked that on the Corb Lund song, the family reunion. You got the Mormons and the drinkers and the Mormons that drink, and and I it's funny how the Mormons really have like taken it's almost like the Jewish population. You have like the Hasidic Jews, which I'd assume would be like your fundamentalist Mormons. And then, and then you've got like varying levels, but then you have the people that are Mormon, like not even practicing, but they're just like in the bloodline. That's kind of how the Jews are. They've kept themselves like not only a religion, but like a race at this point. And I wonder, like, is there going to be like a Mormon race at some point?
Well, if they keep multiplying and replenishing like they have been, I'm sure there will be.
I mean, they do a good job at repopulating. They are very fertile.
You ain't a shitting. It's breeding country here in Utah.
I know. If only if only horses were easy to raise as it is for Mormons to raise babies. It's it'd be easy to get rich on horses, but.
Well, I think the only difference there is that horses they don't show as much heat as Mormon women do.
I've never fooled around with any of the Mormon stock, but I've heard tell, and it's one of the reasons South Park guys have such a soft spot for picking on Mormons, because I think it was Trey Parker said like the first girl he ever fucked was a Mormon girl, and so he's just got a soft spot for Mormons, even though he thinks they're kind of ridiculous. He's still kind of got a soft spot for him, and it's a fascinating story, the Mormons, that I don't think gets enough attention, just for the sheer just how crazy the whole story behind it is just like whether you believe the religion or not, just like it's fascinating how this little group of people just they settled Utah, and now they're one of the fastest growing religions in the freaking world. And it's like they bought that.
You can't say they're not gritty.
Yeah, they just bought that Easter Day operation up in Washington, which was a big outfit, and but it was only the Mormon church and Bill Gates that were bidding on it because they were the only ones that had the money, and the Mormons won out. And I gotta say, if it's between Bill Gates and the Mormon church, for all my disagreements with the Mormons, I'll take them 10 out of 10 times over Bill Gates. They
Oh yeah.
they ain't gonna go into some like fake meat bullshit like Bill Gates is. So no, they're gonna put that land to work. They're gonna use it
Oh yeah.
as God intended. So like I said, they and like I said, regardless of how you feel about their religion, they do have a set of principles and morals that they go by, or at least they claim to go by. Whereas who the fuck knows what Bill Gates moral compass is, what his like guiding light is, and I don't know. So like I said, I'll take my chances with the Mormon church over Bill Gates 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah. See, like I say, I'm a part of that church, and I would too, 110%.
I've met plenty of Mormons to know that, like, yeah, that I can look past the differences in how we view religion, but like as just good people, like just about all the Mormons I've met are really good, decent people, and that's about what you need in my book. Is just good, decent people. I don't really care what the religion.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So anyway, we were going to talk about horses and shit, but this is how the bull sessions always go. When you get to meet somebody, you kind of gotta figure out where everybody's coming from, and that takes you down who knows what path. But that's what I love about good conversations. So so I take it you probably just grew up ranching, just doing what a good Mormon boy does in up in northern Utah.
Yeah, I didn't grow up on a ranch per se, but I grew up working cows plenty. My dad, he grew up on a ranch, as a kid. And then, when I was born, we'd go help friends and neighbors and stuff like that with their cattle. And in fact, one of the guys we'd help the most actually was my dad's missionary companion from the 60s. That he went on a mission with to New Zealand, and he's continued to be a friend throughout the years. In fact, I had a phone call with him today about how his cattle are and everything like that, and so that's kind of where my background started, and we always had horses. We always went on pack trips, and there was always lots of riding to do. But yeah, I didn't really start making a living at this till I was about 13.
Okay. That's kind of how we had a ranch, and I don't know. We had a half section that we lived on, and we had, my dad had another half section down on the Cimarron, and then we had, in Kansas, it was mostly farm ground, but they had between him and his brothers, they had some pasture ground, but I can't remember my dad ever running more than 100, 150 head of cows. He always had a few, but he mostly just kind of day worked. And so, yeah, I grew up ranching kinda, but it was pretty small time. And most of my ranch, my cowboying just was helping neighbors and whatnot. And then and they had bigger outfits than we did. And then, once you get west of the Rockies, and then shit opens up a little bit, or I guess you get north of Colorado or west of the Rockies, and it just, shit gets big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's still some places down in Texas that are pretty big, but I mean, you about, and then New Mexico as well. But once again, you're in that Rockies area, but like, that the Rockies really is kind of the dividing line between like big ranches for the most part, or like big country anyways.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's amazing when you get out, you get out to Nevada or even out here, and, ranches to the east of us, a big ranch is 250 to 400 head. You get out here,
Yeah.
you're talking thousands, you're talking thousands on a mediocre sized ranch out there.
Yeah. And hundreds of thousands of acres. And it gets big, it's for whatever reason, like the people that were the first ones there outside of the Indians, um it was the Mormons, and then just ranchers of some sort. Like it was taking beef to the forts or whatever, or building Zion. And it was and those were tough people that lived out there. And then but it's tough country. That's a like it's easy to have a farm, east of the Mississippi, if if the government doesn't get in your way. But like to just to put in a homestead, like they've got so much water that the water becomes a problem because there's too much of it. And you get in like Indiana and Ohio and Iowa and that corn belt there, and you're just like, shit, that it's so easy to grow crops there compared to out west. So you just gotta like the native grass is really good, and so it's good grazing country. And but boy, it's tough to live out there.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what, it's amazing what the difference between a real wet year and a real bad drought year here.
Mm-hmm.
It's nowhere as close to like it is back east. Back east, a really wet year, and a drought year still a pretty wet year. Out here, it's amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but I found out the guys that I primarily help work cattle right now, they summer up to Soda Springs, Idaho, which is about an hour and a half drive where I live, and their home base ranch is just right down the road from me, a couple miles.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I was up there with the grandpa, and he says, "Oh, look at all that water, and in Soda Springs." He said, "It's amazing to think that all that water is going to make it down to our place." And I says, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he says, "You didn't know this is the same water we irrigate with?" And I says, "You're shitting me. An hour and a half drive, and that's the same water they're irrigating with just right down the road."
Jeez, that's crazy.
That's a long ways. That is a lot of miles that creek and that river and then the canal run through. I mean, that's insane. That just tells you, I mean, we ain't got water here where I live.
Yeah, that's right. When we're this little valley we're in, when the snowpack's good and the river's running, you get some really good irrigated ground. And then the next valley over, they're growing onions and garlic and stuff. But it's all from the river. I don't know how much they have they pump groundwater over there in Mason Valley. But as far as rainfall goes, or like precipitation, we're like somewhere in between 7 and 10 inches a year for average. And so when you're not getting even the 7 inches a year, like that you get 2 years in a row of getting 3 inches, maybe, like that's pretty tough. That's a real tough.
Well, I know. Just ask my wife. She's going on 8 years with just 3 inches.
Mm-hmm. But 3 inches makes a hell of a dent going 90 miles an hour.
I'll tell you what.
Dick jokes, what we're here for, fellas. That's what we're here for. Mormons and dick jokes. That's the basis of this podcast. Oh shit. Yeah. So how'd you get into to doing this horse training deal? And are you training horses to show, or what kind of is your business model, I would say?
So I've trained a couple of rein cow horses for clients that I've shown, and that's ultimately what I'd like to be doing. It's kind of hard to do if you can't go apprentice somebody, and go really for a long time and raising a family. I mean, there's just not enough money working for somebody else. And so it hung up, but most of what I do is just starting colts, and kind of how it all started was when I was was about 13, and down where I kept my horses along the Provo River, there were a couple of middle-aged women who were having trouble with their horses, and they didn't quite understand that giving them sugar
You
cubes.
don't say.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, every one of them tried to send me home with Clinton Anderson videos. But
I bet so.
but I tell you what, they had problems with their horses, and some of them just kind of needed their ass whooped. Some of them just needed a little bit of corrective training. And so at 13, I started making a living doing that. And it really just kind of grew from there. People would hear, oh, hell, he's a good crashing dummy. Call him up to put the first couple rides on this horse. And
there you go.
And, and I always kept a second job. In fact, especially after I got married, I always kept a really good second job until 2020. I ended up breaking my leg, and the company I worked for wouldn't let me keep working. And so they're worried about, oh, you're going to make it worse and you're going to come back and sue us. So I went home and took in 12 outside horses. And when they finally were like, okay, you can come back, because, it's during the pandemic and everything like that. And so I call them up and say, hey, I'm ready to come back. Doctors cleared me. Well, now you're laid off because of COVID. And I said, well, what? It's just a bullshit deal. I finally went back. I walked in there and I says, hey, good to see you guys again. Here's my 2 weeks. Worked there for 2 more. The rest is history, and I've been loving it.
That's awesome. Was it a mining or something?
No, it was a factory job. I worked for,
okay.
Which, they made, they make safety things for cars. And
okay.
I had kind of a crew over there I was overseeing.
I see.
It was a good job. I'm not cussing that factory 1 ounce. They just did what they had to do. But
oh yeah,
it was kind of an eye opener that, like, hey, I think I can make a full-time living out of this and raise a family.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, once you figure out you can make some money on your own, it's good. Like, it's better. It's better if you're, especially if you're a guy that doesn't like to get told what to do a lot. It's a lot better.
Oh yeah, that's me 100%.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, and I know even if I know I'm kind of probably going to be wrong on this, I just don't like being told what to fucking do. Like, it's something about it just rubs me the wrong way. And I don't know. I've said before, like, I'm probably not the best employee, but I'm pretty good at my job. But I don't know how. Like, I'm not good at being much of a company man these days.
Oh yeah.
But way this economy is going, I'm becoming a little more of a company man every day, because I'm not at the point where I can just go do shit on my own and make a living and raise a family at it yet. So in the meantime, this job does treat me pretty good. So I'm gonna be, especially with this recession coming, I'm gonna be a company man for life.
He's gonna tank pretty hard, I'm afraid.
I think so. It's the crazy thing is like, man, when you're growing food for a living, or you're in something that revolves around that, like, you're kind of in a recession proof industry. It doesn't mean it's not going to suck, but like, there's always going to be a job riding pins. There's always going to be, if there's somebody riding pins or whatever, there's probably going to be somebody that needs the horses rode, needs to ride young horses. There's always going to be that. As long as people eat, there's gonna be that. So it's kind of.
I totally agree with you, except for I'm kind of afraid we're living in a government that doesn't really care whether it's made in America or not.
Yeah, that's
real controversial, and I'm going to get some backlash and some bullshit for that comment. But but I do. That's one thing that does make me worried, is that, you just look at the way the fuel's been treated.
Yep.
The eating deal kind of makes me nervous too.
Yeah, it's I agree. It's not heading in a good spot, but there's always a breaking point where people say, no, well, like you're starting to see like more and more lefties like pushing back on like the crickets and eating bugs and shit. And yeah, there's always going to be a breaking point. The problem is America's so fucking soft that I don't know how many like that you could probably push them. I mean, we got pushed quite a ways during this pandemic deal, and for the most part, people didn't say boo. So I don't know, but there's always once the food starts slowing down, or the oil starts slowing down. You see how people get when they got to pay $6 a gallon gasoline. It's
their vote a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, they and the tempers get a little bit shorter too. So there'll be a breaking point at some point, but I don't know. It's they're trying some weird shit, and but the good thing is all these these fake meat companies are kind of going under. Like I think it was JBS that just shut down their, I don't remember what they called it, but it was one of those Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat type deal. But whatever that division, they shut that down because it wasn't going to make any money. So, I can't imagine when you actually explain to somebody like how meat is grown in a lab versus just the natural life cycle of a cow. Like, how is it better being grown in the lab? Like, how? How? Like,
I agree with you 100%. I mean, if you think about it, eating beef still qualifies you as being a vegetarian because all they eat is vegetables.
Right. I just like, I know what this is. This is a cow. I know what goes into it. I can see this is an animal. You knock it in the head, you cut its throat, and you let it hang for a couple weeks, and then you break it down into different cuts, and that's muscle tissue, that's fat, and that's bone. I understand what that is. We're supposed to eat that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you got this steak from a lab. Like, I don't know the process behind that. And you're trying to tell me because it's for a climate change reasons, but like how many chemicals and how much energy did you spend trying to grow this thing in a lab, which I'm sure has to have very meticulous settings. It's not it's a lab environment. It's not the open range. You got to have everything's got to be sterile and blah 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 blah. And how much energy does that expend to make this fake meat?
Oh yeah.
As opposed to just like, there's a cow, there's a steer. He's 1,300 pounds. He's ready to go. Let's go knock him in the head. We'll get it. And there we go. I know what that is. It's not glamorous. The process behind it. Once it comes down to the slaughter, it's not glamorous. Definitely not. But that's life. Life ain't glamorous. So
I mean, it's not glamorous, but you think about it. 99% of the animals from birth till death that we eat have life.
Yeah, great life. I mean, yeah.
There are a lot of places that mistreat animals, and I understand that and whatever. But I mean, you can't say the majority of the ones I've ever seen raised, actually all of them I've ever seen raised, grew up sucking on the tit, and then they went into a feed yard for a while, ate all the food they could eat in good conditions, because if they don't have good conditions, they ain't growing.
Right. And then you're wasting feed too.
100%. If they got shitty conditions, they're going to be stomping all that corn silage and everything else into the ground, which that's expensive stuff.
Well, or they get to where they won't eat. If you're overfeeding them, then you're eventually you got to just throw that feed out on the ground, and that's waste. Feed's expensive nowadays. It's it's and they're in there less than a year for the most part, unless they're Holsteins or Longhorns or something like that that take a little bit longer to grow. They're in a confined area less than a year, unless you're talking about the dairy industry, which I love me some cheese, I love me some milk. I'm not a huge fan of how the dairy industry is organized and how I'm not a. I think there's some huge ethical issues with the dairy industry, and that maybe I may get some pushback from that. But I've seen the cattle that they've bred. I grow them. They come in at about 6 months old, and yeah, I see them, and it's they're very inbred, but they make good milk, I guess, and a lot of it. But that's that goes back to the whole like government subsidy deal, and that
Oh, 100%. But too, I mean, talking about the beef industry compared to the dairy industry, those are two totally different worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like I've got my issues with the poultry and the pork industries too. But once again, the people on the conservative end of the spectrum do themselves a real disservice when they ignore the lefties when they talk about corporations, because they're dead on the money. Like when these companies get so big and they're so tied into government, like that's not good. And you can see, I just saw like Kroger is buying Albertsons. So like, what's the other like major grocery? You've got like Whole Foods, the Krogers, Safeway, and like Wawa and Publix. Like, there's only a handful of all, and outside of like the the regional stores, like Wawa and Publix and what is it down in Texas, like HEB or something. But like Kroger and Walmart and Whole Foods is kind of like the major grocery stores nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And now like Albertsons, I don't know how many stores. They were kind of a more regional deal, but they were still pretty big. And now Kroger just absorbs all that too. And you're just like, how big can you get? Like, at what point do you just like, I don't really need to take on any more stores, Like, I don't know, but I guess it's not. I don't know. I don't know how it all works. But like I said, I think the conservatives really ought to, take a listen to what some of those lefties say on these corporations, because they've been talking about it for a long time,
Yeah, I agree with you. I think anytime you're too intertwined with the government, you're going down a bad road.
Yeah. Now, of course, there's the lefties' solution is just to have the government own all of it. And that's also a bad solution. So I'm not saying that their solutions are good, but I'm saying they diagnosed the problem fairly correctly.
Right.
But their solution is to just like do more of that, except just the corporations don't exist anymore. It's just the government. And you're just like, well, no, that's not good either. That's actually bad. It's like real bad.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah. So it's but yeah, like I've said that about Bernie for a while. Like he's really good at telling you what the problems are, but his solutions are even worse. So like, ugh. But
well, that's the thing. Anybody can tell you what the problem is. I mean,
you'd think so.
It's easy to bitch and moan, but how easy is it to come up with a good solution that's going to fix some shit?
Oh, I know. Well, that's like, yeah, I mean that's Bernie Sanders. He at least addresses the problems for the most part,
Right.
Yeah. Whereas most of your Republicans don't even do that. They just like, hey, the Democrats are bad. And we're like, well, anybody with one good eye can see that the Democrats are terrible over the past, especially like 30, I don't know, 20, 30 years. But like, particularly today, like, I mean, it doesn't take just a real genius to see that they're a bunch of fucking crazy people. But yeah, like you guys aren't even pointing out the problem. You're just like, hey, the other side's crazier than us.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, what about these problems?
Charles could tell you that the two-party system's a freaking joke.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
See that.
But then you talk about maybe I'll vote libertarian, and then the Republicans be like, hey, motherfucker, you don't be taking the votes away from us. Well, maybe run better candidates. I don't know. Like, fuck, man.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, when it comes to the two-party system, that's what cracks up. I mean, Mitt Romney is a great example of why the two-party system is broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The people who have voted for him, yeah, Democrats were all about him for the longest time. And then, he switched to Republicans. So Republicans are all about, he's still the same piece of shit he was.
What's the thoughts on him in Mormondom? I'm curious about that.
You know, it used to be a little more black and white.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, my uncle was actually college roommates with him back.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, shit you not.
Huh.
And but see, there was a time in his when he was running, or when he was doing the whole politic thing, you know, that he was a pretty straight shooter, and was he believed what he believed and stuck by that. And now he believes what the votes will get him, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Like, he believes like, oh, if I say I believe that, that'll get me some votes, and that's, I mean, as far as, you know, the Mormon world's concerned, nobody really gives a shit that he's LDS, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit.
They're not like hanging their hat on, like, hey, look, we got Mitt Romney, you know?
Right, 100%. Like, they're like, okay, if I'm, you know, a hardcore liberal and he's wanting to be on the Democratic side, I'm going to vote for him. Or they're just like the rest of the world that way.
Yeah.
They're voting for a party. They're not voting for a policy.
Yeah. I just wonder, because I know the at least on the Mormon leadership, you know, they're pretty tight-lipped when it comes, or, you know, they kind of handle problems internally.
Yeah.
More so than anything. They try to keep a very like pristine public image, you know, outward facing image. You know, they don't bash each other much. They just kind of, like I said, they handle shit internally.
And like the leaders of the church, you know, that the biggest thing they have told the members of their congregation is prayerfully decide how you should vote. Right?
Yeah.
They don't tell you like, hey, you should vote for Trump this election, or you should vote for Biden this election. They're more just like, you know, stay close to the Lord. This is what they're telling everybody. Just stay close to the Lord, pray to him, and have him give you guidance. And that's how you should vote. Which, honestly, as far as the religion's concerned, I kind of dig that. You know,
I did too. I remember we were still in Kansas in the 2016 election, and we were going to this Southern Baptist church, which Southern Baptists don't look so great here recently as of late. But anyhow, this particular church, I just remember like when and I was not a Trump fan in 2016. I'm still not really a Trump fan, but I will say he's a little better than I gave him credit for. But I will say I was pretty well spot on for my gut instinct that he's just that's a guy about himself and not. I think he does have some love for the country, but I think it's more than anything, it's about Trump, and I don't like that in anyone. But also, those are the type of people that typically end up being president. So what do you do? But I remember, like, you know, everything was getting pretty ramped up, and of course it was Southwest Kansas. Nobody was fucking voting for Hillary. But the Republican primaries were a dogfight. Remember? I mean, like, Trump was fucking dropping nukes on people. And I just remember, like, after it was all after the primary and Trump got the nomination, and I was like, if we go to church today and they, you know, have anything about voting for Trump. It's like they push voting for Trump, as I will never walk in this church again. Because I don't need my church telling me that that it's God's plan for some 3-time divorced guy who probably banged a bunch of porn stars, paid them to bang him. I don't need my preacher telling me that it's God's plan that that I need to vote for that guy. So if they do that, I'm never stepping foot in here again. And they didn't. So I mean, like, kudos on Pastor Dane. He didn't. He was like, yeah, same kind of thing. He's like, you pray on it, just pray on it.
Yep.
And yeah, because that was a weird one. Politics is always weird, but boy, last 8 years has been really fucking weird.
Oh man, it's been a ride.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say that I kind of dig about the Trump administration that way was that, yes, it was all about him and making kind of all of his affairs a little bit better in the long run. Also made the economy pretty freaking badass.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and to me, it's like, if my enemy wins and I win, great. But
yeah,
I don't want to lose, or, I don't want to lose to make my enemy lose, kind of.
Right.
I've got my beef with Trump, but I've also got this kind of the same thing that's like, you can't argue. There were a lot of things that, I mean, I sure liked the final when my freaking fuel pump clicked.
Same here. Like I miss the days when it was under $100 to fill up, I miss those days.
Now it's over $3.50 and
well, and the thing with like the Trump, supposedly his corruption. All right, so foreign dignitaries stayed at his hotel. He makes money off of that. Okay, well, is it wasting my money? Is he stealing from me to make himself richer? I don't think that's the case in this deal. I don't think it's right. I don't think he should be allowed to do that. But you notice they don't come at him for that, because then they'd have to come at fucking everybody in Congress for doing the same type of shit. So
I think a bigger question is, how are guys who are on salaried $58,000 a year millionaires?
Yeah, exactly. Same way, like $174,000 a year to be a member of Congress, a little bit more if you're the speaker, or hold a higher position within the House, and you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars over about 50 years. Like, okay,
they have a big, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, when they're when you have like a third of Congress that's outperforming Warren Buffett and like the big hedge fund, like the people that do that for a living, like the best in the world, and we've got a third of the dum-dums in Washington outperforming them. Oh, weird. But like, if you and I had performed in that way, we'd go to jail for insider trading. But they at most they'll get like a $200 fine.
Oh yeah,
at most. But most of them don't even get that, because it doesn't get investigated, because they're not gonna probably pass a law to investigate themselves, or fucking crazy. So I've got my problems with Trump, and I've got some issues with the like putting his family in positions of power. He's making, I mean, he was doing what Hunter Biden's being accused of. He's using his name's influence. Same thing, but I don't see very many cases that they bring against him where he's stealing from the American public to enrich himself. He's stealing from his supporters in this whole election deal. since the 2020 election, he has been he's directly just been grifting the the base to pay his legal fees, I think. But before that, I didn't see much where he was stealing my money. And if that's not the case, I mean, if that was the case, I'd love to know, because I'll still be pissed at him either way.
Yeah.
But the shit with China and Ukraine and all that stuff, I remember they impeached him over Ukraine. Mitt Romney's tied up in Ukraine. He was tied up in Burisma. John Kerry was tied up in there. I believe Pelosi had some sort of connection there. I mean, there are a lot of people that stood to make money off of Ukraine, and also at the same time they're suppressing the U.S. energy market, and which is essentially stealing money from me, because it's making it way more expensive for me to fuel up. I get real pissed at that. That's when I won't turn a blind eye to the corruption. I can kind of overlook it if it's not coming out of my pocket, if he's fucking over some foreign people, I don't know. I don't have too much of a problem with that.
A lot easier pill to swallow.
I mean, as long as they're like, it's not coming to the point where we're going to war over it, I'm kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with it. But if it's coming out of my pocket, I don't turn so much of a blind eye to that.
Yeah, when my grocery bill doubled and my fuel bill doubled and my hay bill, I still can only charge so much to train a horse.
Yeah. What's hay running down in your part of the world?
God freeze. I think it's 350 a ton.
Man, that's about what it is here. 350 to 400, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're getting. But yeah, there's definitely stuff that's over 400.
Well, the problem is, like, my hay guy, so he's an old retired guy that he retired to farm, if that makes any sense. And he he was telling me, he says, my hay string, it used to cost me about $17 a bale to tie it up with my twine. He says, and he was running through everything. Well, this year it's costing him $28 a bale. And his fertilizer is times 5 what it was a couple years ago. And, the fuel to run his tractor, hell, the fuel to run the tractors is only 40 cents cheaper a gallon than what we're paying right now. Compared to off-road. I mean, that is insane. That is absolutely asinine. Yeah,
that's how it's straight inflation, because that's well past all the taxes and stuff that, and it's just like, you're paying about 40 cents in taxes and whatnot for diesel, and the rest of it's just fucking inflation.
Well, that's the thing, is it's inflation when a guy is charging double and still making the same amount or less within a couple years. I mean,
like if you're not getting a 10% raise at work, like you're losing. I mean, you essentially took a pay cut. I mean, you're talking 8-9% inflation.
Oh, 100%. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like I've raised my rates the last 2 years training horses, and considerably, by hundreds a month, and I'm still making less than I was before.
Yeah.
But when I figure out my overhead and everything like that.
Yeah. Like we were talking before we came on air, like, man, I thought about maybe riding some horses, some outside horses again. And I just, it ain't fucking worth it anymore I don't have my name built up enough in this part of the world yet to where I can get decent horses to ride consistently. So you're having to go just kind of take whatever, as long as they're willing to pay. Well, if I gotta keep them here at the house, that raises my rates up a bunch, because hay's fucking expensive. And then, man, I just don't want to ride a bunch of dinks for it's the like 9-10-year-old rescues that that have had a start on them when they were a 2-year-old, but they'd really like to be able to put their kids on it by next year.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Big brand on their neck, but other than that, part.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no bad horse. It's always the rider. It's never the horse.
Yeah, tell that to my fucking cane I have to use to walk around.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, you got banged up pretty good.
Yeah, it was a hell of a deal, and honestly, it was on a halfway decent horse. I mean, so tell me what would have happened if he was a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, because I'm sure you've seen that video was floating around here a couple of years ago. Some old gal like on the paint horse, and that sucker reared up and then kicked and just threw himself backwards, and you're like, he's done that before. He's done that before, and yeah, like that's one where you hold that sucker down and you stomp on his head, and if he ever raises both front feet off the ground again, you yank him over backwards, and that dude had learned some bad lessons and got away with it.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Like you were telling me at the start of this, y'all, I understand if you don't want to talk about this, that, or the other hurting your business. You know what? If you don't agree with that, I don't want to ride your horse.
Yeah.
There you go. You don't agree that some of them horses just need the shit knocked out of them. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not knock the shit out of a horse if it don't need it.
Right.
The best thing I like to say is that the punishment's got to fit the crime. But quite a crime like that deserves a pretty damn big punishment.
Yep.
And so, I shit you not. I wouldn't want to ride a horse for somebody that if I told them that it was trying to flip over on me and they're like, well, y'all, let's just give it some carrots and sugar cubes and let it be comfortable, load that sumbitch up and take it home. This sumbitch needs flipped over, and, he needs his pole to hit the ground a time or two and knock some sense into him. And I'm the furthest thing from an abusive trainer, but those horses, they either need their heads cut off or they need a really good ass kicking.
Yep. Yeah, those are the ones where you, like you said, you tip them over on their head several times till they feel it. Like they damn sure feel it. And then you tie them down and you put a tarp on them and you sit there and you drink a 30-pack and just let them soak in. And hopefully they do it on a day where it's about 100 degrees. So they get the full effect. And is it torture? Yeah.
No, because I lay even a lot of good horses down. I don't flip them over, but I do lay a lot of good down. I'll just tie a leg up, tie it to the saddle horn, and just let them fight it. And I'll ride 6 horses while they're tied up. And then when they lay down, I walk over to them. If it's like a real stingy horse, I'll just sit and pat them. I'll just pat their body up and down, and rub on them and love on them and stuff. If that's the problem, if it's because they're too stingy. But if they're just ignorant son of a bitch, I just take a tarp, put it over their head, and let them fight and stuff. But there's only so much a guy can do until he's got to take some extreme measures when it comes to training horses. And like I say, those are far and few in between. They're below 1%.
Oh yeah,
have to do that kind of. But I think it was you, like couple years back, and posted something about a horse. It was like taking a nap and had
Yep. Yeah. That was my little Karen mare. Lori Darlin, she's a typical Palomino mare. I mean, everybody that's ever owned a Palomino mare always like they're good horses. Boy, they're bitches. They can be some dirty, rotten, stupid bitches. And it goes about once a year. I gotta go have a fight with Karen because she's still just super head shy, and no matter how much I fuck with her ears, and like at some point you just have to force yourself on their head, and you grab their ears and you flip them around and you stick a finger in them and you just do whatever you can to piss them off, and don't let them get away from you, because it's like, hey, I'm not trying to hurt you, but it's a lot better if you just let me slide the bridle over your head than me trying to feel your brain, because
especially after that dadgum long of trying to get him over it. I mean,
right.
What's a guy to do? At that point, if you can't get along with that horse after that long, and if you're capable of getting by her, to me, that's a canner.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and you got to. It's like, okay, do you want to be dead, or do you want to? You know, do you want to go make some dogs happy, or do you want to make me happy? It's a choice.
Yeah, and luckily with her, like, it's never an issue where it's like where it's like, all right, I'm done with you. Like, it's not one where like I'm gonna just go shoot her because she I don't wish her upon somebody else. But it's just stupid, annoying little shit where she'll be fresh and then all of a sudden she don't want you to touch her head. But as soon as you grab her nose, you know, she's fine. But if you just, and it's just like that, we've done this before. We have done this. So now you're gonna go take a nap in the sun, under a tarp, because you know better than this. And my kids got to fighting the other day, and I made them just go run laps around the house in the heat of the day. And okay, well, they quit fighting. So, I mean, they were thirsty a little bit, but they quit fighting. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, you just got to do what you got to do to make decent beings, whether it's humans or horses. And I swear to you, as a dad of 4, I can tell you, training horses and kids ain't no different.
That's not.
The principles are no different. As far as
right.
What you got to do is just be consistent. You know, let them understand exactly what the boundaries are, what the rules are, and then be consistent about how you uphold those rules. And everything else, there's absolutely no difference between the two. And I've got happy kids and I've got happy horses.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much: if I'm mad, they're scared.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it should be. Like, I mean, like, you don't want your kids to live in fear of you, but also they should know that, like, when you're mad, that's you reached a point with like, hey, that's enough.
Well, and see, scared to me can mean so much as like, oh, he's gonna take my toy away.
Yeah. No, I know.
Saying by scared, like, you know, they know I'm not full of shit. They know that there's
right, and that's what I'm getting at too. It's just like, but they also should be like, when you raise your voice, they should know, like, oh, this is real. Like, no, that's like, I did something wrong here. Like that, they should know that, and they should have that little, you know, bit of like, oh yeah, probably something's gonna happen. You know, whether it's a toy, take the tablet away, whatever, run laps around the house, or to the point of a spanking. You know, but whatever, they should know, like, oh, I've crossed that boundary, and now there will be consequences.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like what I like to do with studs. I don't know how much experience you have with dogs, but like.
Not a ton on the working dogs and breeding dogs in general.
Yeah, and I don't have a ton either, but like, you know, the best thing to do with a dog is just growl at them, you know, give them, they start acting up and you go, hey, you know, kind of a thing. Well, I started doing that with my stud horses before I'd kick the shit out of them, because let's be honest, stud horses need a lot firmer hand than anything else does.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's gotten to the point where like my stud horses, when I let out a growl, if they're tied up and pawing, or they're tied up and they're dropped out and getting excited, and I let out a growl, and it's not that I've been abusive, but I've been consistent enough, I can be at the other end of the arena and let out a growl, and they stop and look at me, and they go, okay, I better stop.
Yeah.
Just because of that growl. And it's just been the consistency. It's not that every time I growl, I beat them over the head or do something stupid. You know, it's just a matter, hey, I've worked your ass off. I've growled at you and then worked your ass off.
Yeah. You know? Well, and it's the same thing with the dad voice. I said,
yep.
You know, and yeah, that's like once the tone changes, like, okay. Yeah.
Yep. He's not dicking around now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, you're right. It's very, very similar. They're yeah. You're just allowed to kick on a horse a little bit. You know, it's not really.
Well,
not really
in today's world, you got to be pretty dadgum careful with that too. My God.
Yeah, you do.
I put a video of on TikTok of my donkey breaking a colt to lead, and the donkey and the colt were standing next to each other, just quiet as can be. And all I did was take a quick video of, you know, oh, look at this donkey. She's the best employee I've got. No big deal. Well, next thing I know, there's a couple of stitched videos of, oh, you can do better than that. That's animal abuse. And I've got a donkey that's got broken vertebrae because of all that and this, that, and the other. And I told my wife I didn't do it because I try to keep, pretty professional when it comes to this industry. I told my wife I wanted to get on there and say, that's the difference between a dumbass and a smart ass. A dumbass lets the colts pull them or tries to fight the colts when they're pulling them around, and a smart ass follows them around.
Yep. Yeah.
I couldn't post a video on TikTok without getting a ton of backlash, and there was nothing bad even happening. They were both standing still looking at me with about 2.5 feet of droop in the two,
I think I remember that video because I saw it because it got passed around Facebook a little bit too in in all the like the equine groups there was arguments started, and it's like you people need to do harder stuff in your life. Like you need to be more tired when you get home or something.
Well, that's the thing is I've got that donkey in a pen next to all the weanlings, and I open up that gate and she walks right in. I don't even have to catch her.
Yeah.
She walks right into them weanlings, walks right into that harness, like ready to go to work, loves her job. But, if there's some dickhead colt that's really thumping on her or getting stupid, I pull that colt off of it and do it myself.
Yeah.
I don't let something just sit and thump on her. I value her as an employee basically. And so, but everybody's thinking, oh, this guy's just the biggest dick in the world because he's tying a colt to a donkey. And I mean, that's the best way to get broke.
Oh yeah. Well, and yeah, it's like every now and then you'll get to where there's some issues, but for the most part, that donkey's like, hey, all right, I'll teach you a thing or two.
Did you see the one I put on where that I tied a colt to that donkey, and that same night I give the lead rope to my boy and he led that colt all around?
No, I didn't see that one, but I believe it.
That colt he'd been haltered one time, and we just let him drag the lead rope around, which again, you can't do that. You're not allowed to let him drag a lead rope around. But he dragged the lead rope around for 2 days right after he'd been weaned. I tied him up to the donkey for 2 hours, pulled him loose, left for the day, came back that night just to see what his brain was. And I led him around, and I handed the lead rope to my 5-year-old boy, and he led him all over the place.
Yeah,
wasn't the right way to train that colt. I mean,
it's effective. It's very, very effective, and it's at the end of the day, I'm okay with a little bit of wear and tear on a donkey as opposed to myself, because we're at the top of the food chain, and the donkey is not. I like a donkey just fine, but still, I'm not going to hurt myself if a donkey can do the job a little easier and not worry about him getting beat up too much. Because
well, and I agree with that sentiment being at the top of the food chain 100%. But my wife would absolutely kill me if something happened to that donkey.
Mm-hmm.
And extra careful with her. And she loves her job. She walks. She willingly. I just open up the gate and she walks in there with them weanlings because she knows what's coming. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead onto one of them. Like if she was being abused, I promise you can't catch a donkey if it's being abused.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's like a mule that don't want you to ride it. You won't ride it.
100%.
Like there's some bucking mules, but like if a mule just doesn't want you to ride it, I don't know if there's anybody that can ride it.
Well, I've trained a pile of mules, and the best thing that's ever been told to me about that is you will never outwork a mule. You've just got to outsmart them because they are. You'll never, if they don't want to do it, they're never going to do it. You got to make them like.
Yeah, and they're pretty hard to outsmart because they're pretty damn smart.
Well, but two jackasses think alike.
That's true. There you go. We should on that note, well, let's end that for the regular episode. We'll do another 15-20 minutes here for the Patreon crew, and we'll talk about some training wrecks, and that way, the only way you can hear that is you got to pay for it. So Anyway, where do they find you at?
What's that?
Where do they find you at on all TikTok and Facebook and all that?
Well, on TikTok, I'm Benjy, spelled Benjy _Smith. That's on TikTok. And then on Facebook, if you look up Backwards ET Horse Training.
Nice.
Backwards ET, that's the brand. So Backwards ET Horse Training, that's my Facebook page for my business.
Awesome. Well, go give him a follow, like all of his stuff. Maybe he'll make a little bit of money on the TikTok stuff here and there. I kind of just quit dicking around with the TikTok. I'm not good at making short videos. I don't maybe I just haven't had any good ideas. I'm better at this, just talking.
Is that how come I can't get you to follow me?
Maybe I'll download TikTok and I'll go follow you. But I tried to get going on the TikTok deal, but it was more just to try to see if I could get more people to listen to the podcast. It wasn't really for trying to make actually meet anybody. It was more just to see what was going to go viral, and maybe I could make a little bit of money on it. But it wasn't my thing. I think I'm too much of a boomer for the TikTok. I'm better at this, where I just talk and I don't have to think of something witty. Oh
yeah. Problem with TikTok, you got to have the camera out just at the right time to get any views.
Yeah, that's true, because it's made for when shit happens. Like one of the best videos I did on there, or at least did the most views, was what just happened to catch my coworker getting bucked off, and it was just so happened I had the GoPro on, and but yeah, there's plenty of shit that would I was like, I wish I would have been filming that, because that would have been so funny.
My video's a horse stomping me into the ground. That got over 500,000 views or whatever,
Yeah.
It's pinned at the top of my TikTok deal, because I was just having a guy film me chasing that donkey around, because I was just teaching the horse how to rate, and I was just going to send it to the client. Well, she slipped, fall off, and she steps on me about 6 times. And boy, I tell you, that's the best video I've had, and it was just an accident. So
yeah, it's funny how that shit happens. But yeah, anyway, go give him a follow, Benjy Smith, and I'll if I ever download TikTok again, I'll definitely follow you back. But I got you on Facebook. Are you on Instagram or no?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you what my Instagram handle is, though. But I'm sure if you looked up Benjy Smith, there aren't too many of them.
Probably not. So anyway, go give him a follow. And this has been fun. And we're going to talk some good recs here in the Patreon segment. So go sign up for that. Patreon.com/Burnin Daylight, or you can get it on Spotify too. So anyway, best way you can support the show, and the bonus stuff gets pretty funny. So anyways, thanks again, Benjy, and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight, burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. done right. Burning daylight, burning daylight, burning daylight.
We're back. Yeah, so this latest one, you got banged up pretty good. Have you been injured pretty severely before from horses or?
Yeah, I've had a handful of pretty good horse wrecks. I mean,
Yeah.
I got figuring I broke 3 bones in 3 years, and when I was 15, I snapped my leg in half, and I've had some pretty good wrecks. They know my name at the ER in town.
Yeah, one of those. I've been pretty fortunate. I've not had many. Like I've been laid up a little bit here and there, or like been hobbled up, but I've never really broke anything. I've had some like like those spiral, not spiral fracture, but like stress fractures on my wrists and stuff. But like they didn't actually break to the outside. It wasn't a clean break. It was all internal, and so like those, they you can't even do anything for that. They give you a soft cast, and that's it. Like they just give you like a little arm brace, and you're like, well, shit's gonna suck for a little while. That's about it.
It's gonna hurt, but tough shit.
Yeah, and then it's like, that's about it. We can give you some opioids.
Yeah. Come to Utah, everyone's hooked on them.
That's cool with the Mormon crowd. The opioids are okay.
Well, if nobody knows about it, everything's cool.
There you go. It's kind of like Baptists and drinking.
Yeah, exactly. The only difference, though, is the difference between Mormons and Baptists at the liquor store is Baptists will say hi to each other.
That's probably true. But they try not to be seen at they try to go like one county over to get their booze. So
where all the other bad ones go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny how that. Yeah. I think religion in general is probably a good thing, but like it's the organized religion part of it that always doesn't matter what religion it is. Like, yeah,
you can find good and bad in all of it. Yeah,
and then once a organization gets big, whoever's at the head's probably going to be a pretty big piece of shit. You can just almost set your clock by that. Like, more often than not, they're probably pretty shitty. And I don't know. That's how it is. I don't know anything about the current Mormon presidents. I'm more interested in the historical aspect, but I know plenty of other the Pope before this, the current one, he essentially had to step down because he was in charge of like shuffling around the pedophiles so they didn't get prosecuted, Yeah. So, and then the Southern Baptist Convention, they same thing, except that instead of little boys, it was little girls, or or just womanizing in general. And you're like, yeah. So I don't know. They're like I think the lessons that are supposed to be learned within the text of all these these holy books are probably pretty decent, but be very, very skeptical about the ones preaching it, or at least be. I don't know, but I'd hold them at arm's length.
Oh yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah. So, anyways, we were talking horse wrecks instead. we got on to religion. It's funny how these little deals. Yeah. Well, and that was all. That was talking about Baptist at the liquor store. So there you go. We went off on a whole dissertation.
Oh yeah. Well, one thing about it, you just never know where the conversation is going to go, and that's one thing. Podcast is you might have this idea, but it's gonna go over here for a little.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much of a filter, and but I don't ever try to be annoying or anything. I just when I have people on the show, I genuinely am interested to talk to them. So I don't have a shtick, this is my brain as it is, it's a weird one, but it's kind of fun sometimes. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same dadgum way.
I think, more often than not, like the more time you spend the horseback, like the more time you have to your thoughts, because like when you're riding a colt, and that this is why like horse trainers are always like kind of on high, they're on like they're real high strung because they're always on young horses. But like as the more like you start a colt, and then the more you get onto them, then the more like your brain can kind of relax, because you're not worried about so much teaching them something. You're not worried about them blowing up or spooking, or like the more and more you just like, your brain just gets to wander, and it doesn't matter if you've got like music playing in the background or you're listening, like your brain gets to wander, and
oh
yeah. So like the more a guy spins a horseback, the more he gets in touch with some of the weirder thoughts that you're gonna have.
Oh yeah, I've told people before I could solve the world's problems if all I had was gentle horses to ride.
Yeah, yeah, that's for real. But when you're when you're always on a colt that could blow, or you're always like just trying to teach him something, like it changes your whole outlook on life too. Like you become like that, just like jittery.
Yeah, you're always on edge. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always waiting for the next bad thing to happen, or
something. Well, it's kind of like soldiers coming back from war too. Like they're used to just like just being on edge. But like in an explosion, there's always the scene in the movies where like the new guy hits the ground when the bomb goes off, and then the guy that's been there forever just already been in the shit just stands there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same way. Like if your entire way of life is just being on edge all the time, like you're gonna be, even when you're not on a horse, or you're not at war, you're just gonna be on edge all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's part of it. And yeah, like I think everybody knows those particular horse trainers where they're just like they're not all that way, but like the ones that are just they're always on young horses, and just and they maybe they have kind of a ram and jam personality as it is, but then you add on just like colt after colt after colt after colt, and they're just like, oh yeah, that dude is a hot mess.
That's why we're all a bunch of self-medicators.
That's also partially true, because you can't afford to go to the hospital, so you just drink until you can't feel the pain anymore.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, after a while, shit just kind of hurts, and that's one thing I've really enjoyed about listening to Rogan is because he's a health freak, and but man, the guy's 50 something years old, and he's in good shape. So there's something about that, just like trying to preserve what you have, and a lot of times it's just like doing hard shit. Like that's kind of the secret to it, is like well, the diet sucks, so there's that, and then also the work to get there sucks, but you feel great when you're done, so you look good, so it's like the secret is it's a lot of work and it sucks.
Yep.
But
in my line of work, Chris Ledoux said it best. He's still too tough to die. I mean, when it comes to horse trainers, I mean, Cowboy, same thing, just
Yeah.
too tough to die.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
more the idea than the individual, but
yeah. Well, but it's also like they're too dumb to feel pain too, and it's not so much that, it's just like, well, I mean, when I got kicked in the face the other day, it's like I said, it wasn't even really that interesting of a story, because I didn't see stars or anything. Like, so she caught me where it didn't ring my bell. Like, I still had the wherewithal to like, no, I'm not letting you up. But most normal people, their first reaction when they get hit in the face is to grab their face. But like, no, I've got a 600-pound heifer that I'm sitting on, and it's gonna be a wreck if I let her up, because then I'm gonna have to go get my rope, and it's a whole thing. So it's like, no, fuck my eye, or you're my face. I'm gonna I'm gonna get this bitch tied down.
Well, that's why God gave you two of everything.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's not so much that we're too dumb to feel pain. It's like, well, the pain sucks, but it's gonna suck worse if my face hurts and then I gotta go get my rope.
Exactly. Now you're just problems.
Yeah. So, and it's like, yeah, it's just part of the job. You like, shit hurts every now and then, and then the older you get, it's just like, oh, shit just hurts all the time.
Oh yeah, no, it kind of made me wonder, since I got hurt there about a month ago, and like I said, I've got about 2 more months before I can get back in the saddle. And I've had people that are like, so, I mean, do you have PTSD? Are you this, that, and the other? I've had all them different questions, and it's kind of made me question my sanity, because my only thought is, how soon can I get back in the saddle?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want to go do something that's going to make it to where it's 6 months before I can go back, or a year or something like that. So I'm trying to be careful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I'm around these horses, I'm a lot more timid than I used to be, but that's only because I can't move as fast.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm more worried it's going to do something than I was before. I've always been worried it's going to do something. When I'm handling like my own colts that are still here, like I go out and catch my stud colt, pull him into the round pen, chase him around and stuff. And he was never steady until I got hurt, and I laid him off for 4 weeks. And whoa, all of a sudden, imagine that, a 2-year-old horse that's been cooped up in a frickin' 8x8 pen.
Yeah.
It was bigger than that. It's more like a 20x20, but imagine him. Oh God, I can't believe he's wound up. Bullshit. Of course he's going to be wound up.
Yeah.
So that son of a bitch, and I'm leading him to the freaking round pen, and he's halfway behind me, striking a foot a little bit, not striking at me, just kind of striking at the ground and waving.
Yeah.
He's snorting and shit, and
just doing stud shit. Yeah.
Yeah, am I a little more worried about getting hurt? Yes, but it's only because I can't move as fast. It's not that I'm any more going to do something or the pain or anything like that. It's just, if he does something, I can't move as quick. I've got I used to be a tripod. Now I'm a quad. I got the cane.
Hey-o.
Twice in one interview.
I like it, man. You're that was good. Yeah, it sucks when you get laid up. Like, yeah, if you're used to being out and about, it just like, even like I like being, my days off, I'm lazy as fuck. I try to be, or I try to be as lazy as my wife will let me. But yeah, like much more in a day or two of that, and then you're like, I gotta go do something, I gotta go do something.
Oh, dude, and I used to always joke about the farmers and shit like that, and which granted, obviously I have a high respect for them, but
yeah,
but it's always been a joke about all the damn sod busters against the Cowboy story. I've been running a damn grain cart harvesting corn for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
because it's something to do.
Yeah,
it's something to do. I feel productive. I feel like I've gone out and done a little bit of good in this world, because man, with my mentality, I mean, you put it perfect. Calling horse trainers high strung. I am the epitome of high strung. I sit around for more than about 4 hours, even on a day off. I go nuts.
Yeah. It's there's something to it, but like, yeah, when you're just you have like, you have adrenaline rush like constantly. Like that's but also you're also like kind of paranoid too, because you're like I don't know, for whatever reason animals aren't real predictable. They can be, but also like when shit goes haywire that first time, because the first time you don't know exactly what they're gonna do. Like, well, they may be a real easy bucker, and they may just go fucking nuts, And
I'm pretty much, the best way to put personality is I'm a schizophrenic, an addiction to adrenaline.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's
boy the shit, but I still like that feeling, and not so much if I like it as much as I like the result I get after I deal with it. But
yeah,
but it's still just that it's that getting a product,
No, I really enjoy working with, like, particularly like a green bro course. I enjoy starting them from the ground up, but that's not my specialty. I like something that's got maybe 30, 60 rides on it, and bring it into the feedlot and working on them from there. Like I really enjoy and because it gets you like it gets you get a lot more work done. I mean, like you get a lot more of a workout. Your forearms will be screaming at the end of the day. Your like that muscle that just runs right along the inside of your lower leg is going to be screaming at the end of the day, and you're going to be sore, but it's fun, and then you can see when they make progress, particularly like from they start them and they won't open a gate at all, and then by the end of the day they'll at least open it as if you're pulling it to them, or vice versa, and it just, I don't know, just watching progress, but also it's a fucking workout.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, and that's the thing, is that's when you go from breaking horses to training horses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I would much prefer train horses than break horses, and that's kind of where I've aimed my program over the last several years.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to a crippled up guy right now that was breaking a horse and got all screwed up, but I was talking to a cowboy up the road that he says, "God, I really got to hand it to you horse trainers that you guys can make these horses do stuff without actually having a job ahead of them." And I said, "Yeah, but in a perfect world," I said, "your horse trainers would also be working cowboys." But how does a working cowboy get through 13 head a day?
You can't.
You can't. There's just no possible way.
No, you unless you're in the bronc pen. No, but if you're riding a circle, you got the one. If you're Brandon, maybe you brought two. I don't know, but
that's the most I've ever gone through, Brandon.
Yeah,
maybe three if I gathered on one, and then started roping on one and finished roping on another. Like maybe.
Yeah, I've never gone through more than two, but then again, I'm sure there's guys that have, and but yeah, it's unless your job is to get through horses, as many horses a day you can, then like it's a very specific deal. But that guy's also not making the circle when he's breaking colts either.
Yeah, that's the thing, is even the bronc pen, they're not actually cowboying. I mean, that's the thing, that they're bronc stomping, but that's so much different. I mean, that's the thing, is if ideally you could bring together cowboying with horsemanship, that's how, if I could do it one way, that's how I would do it. Is that if it was profitable enough to just have a couple of horses, but still pay as much as 13 head or 12 head.
Yep.
That and cowboy at the same time, that'd be the way to do it. But there's just, I mean, that's why they invented flags, and that's why, so many guys try to keep old cows around for lead steers, and that's why donkey around to, heel on and stuff like that. But
it's it's all part of the deal, but it's a completely different profession than just strictly cowboy. It's a different definitely a different deal. And I bet it's all at the end of the day, is working towards the same goal. And
it is 100%. But I mean, you can't go cut cattle on a 30-day horse.
No, you the cushion you got to give cattle on a 30-day horse is big, big.
Yeah. You're standing in the back holding herd with 15 other guys. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's like the before their neck rein and in the feedlot, like, man, I'm giving them about half the pin away from them if I can. Like it's like you run up there and bump them forward and then backpedal and like just give them enough cushion, because like if they break away, I'm gonna have to go chase them. And am I gonna get them stopped? Yeah. Am I gonna get them stopped in the right spot? Probably not.
Nope.
Probably not. So
always
give them a big cushion.
They know they can get through.
Yeah. So it's almost like you feel like you're wearing one of those sumo, like inflatable sumo suits when when you're trying to work cattle on a real green horse. You just got to give them. Like, I know what I got to do, but I feel like I'm fat because I can't get there in time, or
Yep. They've got ankle weight, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And and then they also might pitch on the way over there too. Like, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. You ask a 30-day horse to go from a walk to a pretty good run all at one time. I mean, chances are it's probably going to try to pile your ass.
Or say, you get them, they're doing what you want them to, and you're getting, you're kind of trotting along beside them, and then they stop nice, but they step on a piss spot and slip. And then all of a sudden, when they get their feet back from under them, then the game's on again. And you're like, oh, fuck, we did so good. And he forgot all of that because he slipped, and you're just like, fuck.
Well, and that's the problem is, with the deal, you always want to end on a good note. How do you do that if you're cowboying?
Yeah.
It's not like you can go get one more cow.
Yeah, exactly. It's
go get you a cow that don't need worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually like for a cowboy, and you're ending on the good note is when you're unsaddling at the barn. Like, it doesn't matter what happened in between. It's just like when the job is done, then we're done. But yeah, those colts. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. Like, we did something really good. Like, and I if I'm not too far from the barn, and we're not like, in a big hurry. Like, if my horse does something really, really just a little extra than what I thought they were gonna be able to perform that day, we'll call that good. Let's head to the barn. I'll go grab another horse and finish up. Because that's if I've got the luxury to do that. But most of the time,
doing far in between when you're.
Yeah. And I don't do that very often, because it's just like it's usually not it's not you're not that the opportunity doesn't present itself because you got shit to do. But on those when you're just running through colts, that's always all right. We did good. Let's call that good. Or it's at the point where, like, they did good enough and I'm starting to get mad. Let's not pick a fight. Let's not escalate this.
100%. Yeah, that's the thing. You've always got to find that good note to end on. That's why when I go cowboying for other operations, I mean, if we're trailing cows, I'll take any dink.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're doing pen work, or we're branding, or we've got some things to doctor, I either take my own because I know I can fix them later.
Yeah.
Or I take something I really can rely on if it's a client horse. Something I know that's like, I'm going to be able to get this. I mean, but I got to have a lot of confidence, because if I take a client horse out there and it turns out to be a freaking joke, it takes next week just to get back to where I was. And all of a sudden, I'm not making as good of a product as I was, or I could have.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of have to baby those client horses, unless that's, unless you're kind of giving free rein on them, but that doesn't happen very often either.
Oh yeah. Well, and even when you're giving free rein on them, you still look for that, you still try to go for that. ultimate goal of being, as quiet and good as they can be when you send them home. Because
Yep.
when you're training for the public, you treat them all like they're a bunch of idiots.
Yep. Yeah, you have to. I mean,
even though they're not, there's a lot
Yeah.
that are really handy that I died for, but
well, and I don't know. I think the public needs to realize that too, that it's a necessity. You have to treat them like an idiot until they prove otherwise.
100%.
Because it just, you have to. I mean, that's just how it is. Otherwise, you end up in a bad situation, and so you just have to until they're proven otherwise. I assume you don't know shit about horses when I take one of them in.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the best way to go about it, and you don't have to be a dick about it. You just assume like they don't know shit.
Yep. Exactly. Well, and that just all that does is it makes the people who don't know anything happy, and it makes the people handy that much happier.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because they'll be like, no. This is what we got going on. This is why you're riding it. And I'd put these rides on it myself, but I'm busy this year or whatever. And yeah, so it puts everything out in the open, and the people that, and when they know that you're treating them like an idiot, then they know exactly like, oh, I got you, but this is what's up. And then the people that are idiots, they're like, oh, I never knew that. Thank you.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's the best policy you can have if you're riding somebody else's horse, is just assume until proven otherwise that they don't know shit.
Yep. That's my policy, and that's the policy I'm going to keep using.
Yeah, I know, and then there'll be people that get butthurt, but in the long run, it's better off because the butthurt ones don't come back, and well, if they get butthurt over that, then without explaining themselves or clarifying the situation, then well, they probably weren't going to be a good customer anyways. So
yeah, exactly. Well, a guy's got to be choosy about his customers, I think.
You really do. There's a point where, like, if you're trying to cut your teeth and get a client base, like I was saying before, like there was a time where I was willing to take in just about anything because, like you said, when the first sign of recognition is when they acknowledge that you're a good dummy. They're like, oh, he'll get on anything.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the first step, and then you always want to progress from there. You don't always want to be the guy that oh, he'll get on anything. Like that makes for a short life.
Oh man, that's where I'm at right now is I'm like, not now, motherfucker.
Yeah, like there was a ways back.
Still crippled as shit.
See, and I've never been real injured, and like I said, while you're laid up, you should seriously consider doing yoga. Like that's as gay as it sounds, that shit really works. Like, and it's just stretching. Like, I don't know why they got to give it such a gay name. It's just, like, I don't know why they got to go all weird about it. Like, and have like there's always a guru involved with yoga. But if you could say it's like, hey, it's just really hard stretching. Like, I think it'd be more palatable to your average man, but it actually does really help.
Instead, it sounds like a bunch of essential oils are required, and
it's
with some incense burning in the room. And
see, like I still have never understood like the yoga mat. Like my wife has one, and it's a pink one. And when I do the yoga, like I'll roll it out there, but I don't. I like every now and then I'll roll it out there, and like I don't know exactly what the purpose of this is. I guess like because you don't want to lay on the ground, but like I cowboy for a living, I'm used to, the goal is not to be on the ground. Any good cowboy will tell you like the only time you're supposed to be on the ground is when you're tying down a cow or something, or when you're the goal is not to be on the ground if you're a cowboy, but either way, I'm not afraid of like getting in the dirt. So like I'll stretch in the dirt. I don't really care, I guess. But I guess I don't know why. Like why do you unroll this mat at a clean like gym? Like the floors are professionally cleaned, and then you're rolling out a mat over the top of that. That's not any softer really than the floor or a carpet that's been vacuumed. Like I don't know. I don't understand the whole like. There's a lot of shit about yoga that doesn't make any sense, but the actual physical stretching of the yoga is very beneficial.
Well, maybe I can get my perineum back in line then.
Yeah. Yeah, get your chakras all straight. Yeah, like they've just like really gayified a very essential thing, which is stretching. Like stretching is very essential to if you want to like not be crippled. Like it's very essential, but they just like turned something very simple and made it super gay. And not like a homosexual gay, but just like gay, just like weird.
Yeah, I'll have to try her. I'll let you know when I tear a bunch of stitches.
There you go. Yeah, don't stretch anything that shouldn't be stretched yet. But once you're once you got the clear, like it'll just I don't know, like 10 minutes in the morning will go a long ways.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt. That's for dadgum sure.
No, it definitely it'll suck for the first little bit, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can touch my feet without bending my knees. Like that's kind of handy. Yeah. So anyway, it does help. I'll admit there's a lot of weird shit that comes along with yoga. So you got to find just something normal. Whether I don't know. Like there was a guy that I watched, and then eventually I was like, this is also kind of gay because I'm watching another guy stretch. But then like if my wife walks in while I'm doing yoga and I'm watching a bunch of like some like Instagram hoe, like that's not good either. So like, do I got to find like some Broomhilda type chick that, but like they're not doing yoga, so like I don't know. You got to do it in secret till you find the stuff that helps out, and then you just do it by memory. Then, unless you're a single guy, and then you just watch Instagram hoes do it.
Oh, I think my wife would flip if I was doing that.
Yeah. Well, and then you don't want trouble in Mormonhood. No trouble in Mormonhood.
No, I don't know which one of my wives would get upset, but one of
them. Oh shit, that's a good note to end it on, Benjy. That's a good note to end it on. This was fun, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Appreciate it, Matt.
Yeah, it was this is a fun time. I'm glad you come on. Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll get you on a group bull session one of these days too. That'll be fun, and we'll get a couple other horse trainers on and tell war stories. I bet Tyler Flake's got some good shit he can talk about too. So like we'll get a couple of those guys on. But man, I appreciate it.
They never end, do they?
No, they don't. That's one of the cool things is you talk to one guy and then and you're like, oh, you gotta talk to this guy, and then so like it's hard getting people locked down sometimes, but there's never even when I have a dry run or I just do a lot of solo episodes. There's never a shortage of people to talk to. It's just getting it all lined out. There's always people to talk to, and then like I said, every time I talk to somebody new, that leads me somewhere else, and I'll catch a couple of connections from there, and so there's always people to talk to. One of these days, I'll get them all talked to, hopefully.
Well, good. Look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. You have a good evening. All right.
Yep, you do the same. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Take care.
See ya.